Today is day 57 in ICU. That means solitary. Conservative. It could be 58 or even 59. You forget. You second guess your system. You misread a mark on the wall. Started out as a mark for day 22 and now it's just a worn spot in the paint. There's guys here in Pelican Bay that have been in solitary for 20 years, and the state and the voters don't give a fuck, though, so I really shouldn't show any weakness about day 58 or 9. However it goes, whoever finds this, if you don't immediately throw it away, you'll know that I'm honest, that I think it's day 57. I'm telling the truth, so I'll be worth remembering. Solitary has turned down 2 interviews on my behalf. Big entertainment companies like Huffington Post and Fox. But honestly, I'm tired of them asking the same question a million different ways. Why did I do it? And then laughing either like they're my fucking friend all of a sudden, or treating me like a mongoloid or a little kid when I respond. They would just distort the story. My honest answer is that I had to do it. I'm not the first eco guy to end up in prison. I'm just the first one to use the Replicator. I wonder if they've replaced it. I'm not talking about the prequel series where they pussed out and added that caviar to the story. The caviar that they did use a replicator for certain proteins, but then they had a utopian hydro greenhouse in the fucking Enterprise to grow fresh basil. No. A real replicator of whatever you put in it. I honestly had to do it. Why is that a naive answer? It's naive when you shrink it down to the imagination that makes electric cars, recycling, solar power, other shit that out in the open doesn't work or help, but people still put their limp hope in it. This story isn't for the naive. When the Replicator came out, I was a sophomore in high school. The STEM grants were flowing, so a day later we had a replicator in Mr. Mendoza's room. He showed us that we could put some fern seeds in it to test for genetics, because that's the page we were studying that week in the book. But it took off after the bell rung. All the rich white and Indian kids, there was this golden age for them, lasted about a semester, where everyone got accepted into the Ivy League or MIT because they got some AIDS medication or some fucking clean water, drinking water, and put it in the replicator, and zap, out it comes, headed straight for Africa. That's great for them. But immediately there was also the dark side. Cops started making guns in it, so they never had to use their service weapons, and like 10 kids get shot on BART before Easter. The cops walked because they eliminated a threat. They mailed the replicated guns to the South, to Arizona, to the Minutemen. My uncle in Watsonville said he was going to have like 5 diamond rings for his mail-order brides from the Philippines. He was set for pussy for life, and food to feed him too. Of course, the wives smelled that the original came from his ex-wife, so that was a no-go. I'm saying for me this was the dark side. Everyone else thought it was the shit. God, I don't feel like writing this all down right now. If they don't confiscate this thing tonight, I'll finish the story tomorrow. I tried the whole stability thing. At 19, I had the manager job at Dave & Buster's. The impossible emotional girlfriend in Santa Cruz made me feel like a fucking asshole because she studied queer theory and I didn't. I wasn't even taking classes at De Anza. The car loan, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I was free from my dad's house and owed myself stability. I didn't know I was wasting my youth. I know I'm just some piece of shit criminal to you, far removed from your suburban kingdom and all that shit that you worked hard for and no one respects me, but I think you can see why I had to do it. All I could see was the planet was heating up. Every night I was hauling bags and bags of trash out of Dave & Buster's, destined for one landfill or another. People just throw shit away and forget about it, like when you haul that new TV from China into your suburban man cave. No responsibility. I would rage about this all day long when I worked. So my girlfriend's friend from Seattle, boyfriend, bought a consumer-grade replicator like Mr. Mendoza had. I started raging about that. Guy had every book ever written by Marx on his shelf, and their virgin spines had been never cracked open once. Before I knew it, I hated anyone who had the same Apple and anthropology stuff as him, who made as much as him, who had his confidence and credentials. It's easier to hate people in packaged deals than one detail at a time. It makes the details all fit together. I wanted to shove their faces in the shit that they ignored while they curated their fucking podcasts. They would get all drunk on craft beer or whatever it was, and I'd just start with one cantaloupe peel. And out it came, just as half-fermented and perfect as the original. The Replicator is phenomenal in that it's quiet. Then on the Xanax night, which they often did, I ventured on some coffee grounds. Same thing. What impressed me most, what made it really real on a chemical, on a molecular, no, what's the word? It ends in ick. On that level was the smell. The trash smell gave it its naturalness, its realness. They just took the trash out like normal the next morning and forgot about it, didn't notice a thing. So I started thinking at work about how to make people notice, make people responsible. I had to do something. There was a story in the paper about the landfill in Los Gatos filling up. The city responded by letting San Jose State build a golf course on center. The garbage, the temperature, the wars, the impunity were just piling up. I had to shove it in everyone's faces. You see? It's not a fucking song chorus or some personal affirmation. I needed to do something, or else it was beat some fucking random's ass in a bar and go to jail, change nothing. Can you even imagine being in ICU for 60 days? Regular shit becomes unreal. I mean, how far my financial aid goes and the price of a burrito, that wore off a long time ago. I mean regular things like eye contact. Become unreal. Not asking permission to do something. So finally I enrolled in De Anza, and let me tell you, my girlfriend treated me like a new person, raised her vocabulary, trusted me with certain new opinions, was nice to me just for enrolling. By now she worked some fucking non-profit and was the shit once and for all. She called people in East Oakland and hooked up girls from the streets with rich white volunteers on blind big sister dates. But I principally enrolled because they had a replicator. I changed my study plans to physics. They were on some noble cause too, like her, like replicating a whole Tesla, replicating the whole expensive campus bookstore, replicating a shitload of AIDS medication for a whole country in Africa. You can walk into the thing, and that was the joke. Don't replicate yourself. The little theater next to Psycho Donuts in San Jose State, across the valley, started showing The Fly, both the old one and the Cronenberg one, like conspicuously often. So I got some of the guys who ran the Replicator Center to let me in. By then I knew what I had to do. I'd open locked dumpsters. Yeah, locked. Behind Blowjob's brew house. My dad gave me his bolt cutter before he moved to Texas, now that I was out of his house, and just toss them on the delicate plastic floor and hit go. I could turn 2 garbage bags into a pyramid inside of an hour. Down to the shitty black plastic bags that stretched and got holes in them and leaked shit all over the place, just sitting there under normal Earth gravity. And that was beautiful. Earth gravity, that's all I really wanted. No packaging or petroleum or landfills. I was dumping pyramids of rotting garbage all over the valley. It got in the paper. At first it was like, man, there's this new trend of just putting trash out on the street. The Indian immigrants must not know about the barrels. And then it was like, the trash companies don't know who to bill for these surprise mountains of trash. The smell had permeated my car, all my clothes. It was real. I wanted to puke, and I wanted to shout with joy. The garbage stink got sucked by the air conditioning compressor into people's Teslas. One night the guys at De Anza started remarking that I was really nice to haul their garbage out for them. I knew that the garbage cans in the shop remained mostly empty, so I got paranoid. Another replicator opened up in the front yard of the Googleplex, so I started using that one too. The Japanese tourists thought it was funny as shit. I decided against making a show of it. I was dumping so much trash in strip malls, on the on-ramps, on the roads, on people's lawns. The powers that be were begging the average respectable citizen to please try to cut back, but of course not cut back on spending and consuming, which was the motor of the economy. One night, I managed to raid a women's restroom and replicate the bags, and I had Santa Clara City Hall steps covered in gnarly old tampons. I celebrated at home by smoking weed. Alone. I wonder if it ever got back to me if I didn't do it to myself. One night I was hanging out at a coffee factory trying to get Winnie's attention, who I knew from school and who worked there. She heard me talking about the trash dumpers, clueless that it was me, and she said that they were just making the problem worse, making the garbage men work harder. And I didn't agree with that, but it got me thinking, and I can remember the taste of the Rudy green tea still while I was sitting there in that big open room with black night shouldering in through the full-length windows when I made the connection. I was using this new technology for evil, I admit it, to prove that it was no good to make new technology. But who was going to pick up on that? And for me, I was basically using the stability of the replicator rather than fighting back in my own way. And what is good and evil? I told the guys there was free donuts and printing services, just one building over from advanced technology. The one guy was going to go for the both of them. I told him I'd watch the place. I took a cheap-ass pair of scissors and cut everything I could find. I couldn't even figure out how to disconnect the replicator from the power. I cut the rubber belt that moved the nozzles to do the actual replicating, smashed the nozzles themselves with a hammer I brought with me, also my dad's. I tried to kick over the frame. Eventually, the circuit in the whole building broke, and I rushed out stumbling like a dumb fuck in the dark. The cops came pretty much instantly to my place, and I was in jail within 20 hours. Day 62, I guess. I'm here in ICU because that's how people get forgotten. It's not that I destroyed the replicator. I'm sure D'Anzo's beyond STEM grants. There's probably a new one, maybe even bigger, for replicating apartments from Montana Row. It's not that. They want me forgotten because to them I set a precedent. No one should question new technology and the inevitable replacement of memory and perception of reality from before said technology came out, let alone break it. Everyone should be like the guy with the apple shit and the unread marks. You who find this will maybe not let them forget my precedent. My girlfriend still hasn't dumped me according to her last letter. I'm her little prison project, like she's the fucking anarchist Black Cross. I whack off thinking about Winnie. I bet some of the trash I strew is still out there, to remind anyone of how serious this all is. I should have tried a dead deer. It was better than doing nothing. If I'm dead, I hope whoever finds this doesn't get awkward about publishing it.